Another thing I wanted to discuss was it's something I've been hesitant to talk about um, because I don't want to make it like a big focus of my channel, but it is something that impacts me in the work I do, in the filming I do, and that I put up every day. You know, not every day when I put a video up and everything like that. So I feel like it is a big point to make, and it's important to make that point. So the thing about me is that I actually have a disability. Um, and it's a disability I've had since 2017. And I won't go into too much detail about it, but it was very innocuous. It was literally just a case of I was helping somebody with something, and something very, very, very heavy got basically, this is my foot, this is the very, very heavy thing, and the thing got like with force, like right against the toes of my right foot. And at the time, I thought nothing of it, and I was like, felt a bit bruisey, felt a bit sore, and I continued on, and so it got to the point where it was getting very sore, and my big toe was very badly damaged, I want to say, like lots of wild bruising on it, like underneath the nail, on the nail, generally all around it, and like there was a lot of swelling on my foot. So I did eventually go to my GP about it, and my GP said to me that the my toe had gotten infected from whatever had happened to me. So it wasn't very nice to look at. And I will not be putting pictures of that in the video because you do not need to see that. But yeah, it was very, very painful, and obviously I was put on antibiotics, everything like that. I was also told by another health professional who actually looked at my who actually looked at my foot the day after this injury happened, and they had actually said to me that what was going to happen maybe in a couple of weeks down the road. They said that the toenail on my big foot, the toenail on my big foot, the big toenail, the toenail on my big toe on my right foot, um, they had told me that that was going to fall off. Because that's how bad it looked, even not even 24 hours after it happened. So they were like, look, keep it wrapped, just keep it clean, and eventually it will fall off. And so after the 2 weeks, nothing had happened, and that's when I had gone to my GP, and I was told this was going to happen, I'll try to make this as short as I can. Um, so yeah, my GP was like, no, that's infected. You're gonna have to go on antibiotics to get rid of the infection and everything like that. So went on the antibiotics, and it cleared it up a little, but my GP had also suggested that I keep it clean. I try put a wrapping around it as well to stop it from getting further infected, which is what I was doing, and it just kept getting worse. So I ended up going to the hospital, having X-rays done, everything like that. Now by this point, um, because of the impact and the injury and the way it had happened, my foot. So this would be my foot. My foot actually went like that. So you imagine this is the side of your foot. So your foot is flat, that's the side of your foot. But my foot went like that. So I was basically walking on the side of my foot constantly. I could not put my foot flat onto the ground. And that was as a result of the swelling, but also as a result of the injury as it had happened. And what I believe now is that like my body, my brain went into like protective mode. So it was like, we need to protect the part of the foot that's injured, so we need to walk like this. So that's what my brain had basically told my foot. So yeah, so when I went for the X-ray, there was confusion over the X-ray. At one point, they told me that they couldn't see anything on the X-ray, like there was no fracture, nothing broken, nothing. And then when I got called back, then they told me to go back 2 weeks later to see if I had any improvement. And I went back, and then they told me, no, there is a slight fracture on the X-ray on your big toe. There's a, like they said, on your big toe, like this side here, there's a slight fracture. So what they said to me was to wear a splint and to wear a dressing on it and to keep it straight for however long it needed to recover. So as time went on, the toe just kept getting worse. My big toe kept getting worse, and I developed a skin condition on the foot. And basically, without like grossing anyone out or whatever, but like the skin on my foot like started to go yellow, and my foot just was not in good shape. So I ended up having to go back to the hospital, back to the A&E department, and spoke to a lovely doctor, and he'd never seen anything like it. And this is what the doctors had told me and keep telling me, is that something like this is that they've never seen like such an a second, because my cat was scraping at the door wanting to go outside. So where was I? Yes, so went back, lovely doctor, spoke to a lovely doctor. And again, just he was like, for your age, he said, this, it shouldn't determine your life going forward. Like you said, you're too young now. At the time, I was 32 at the time. So what ended up happening was he removed my toenail from the big toe. And he said it's the only way to maybe curb the infection, because I was getting infection after infection after infection in this toe. And yeah, so he said, look, this is the best way to do it. Let the nail bed heal without a nail on there. And then he said, when the new nail grows back, he said, it should be okay. So I was like, right, let's do it. So did that. I was recovering from that for about 3 weeks. It was definitely painful getting the bandages changed and everything off that, because it was just, yeah. So I thought, right, this is the end of the problems, and I'm on the right track now, everything like that. So what happened is that my foot was still that way, so that way. And what had happened was I had lost the movement in my foot completely. So I was at a point where I couldn't move my foot, could not wiggle my toes like that, couldn't like turn my foot like that, couldn't put it flat, literally could not do anything with it. So it got to a point where I went back to see this doctor in A&E, and he said, look, he said, what I'll have to do now is, he said, I'll have to refer you to orthopedics, because he said, you may need an operation. So I was like, right, nobody wants to have to go for an operation like that, especially on their legs or their foot or whatever. But I was like, look, I need some kind of relief. I need to be able to move on from this, and so went to see the orthopedic doctor, and they sent me for x-rays. And it was very confusing again, because when I went back to get the results of the x-rays on the same day, the technician actually told me that he looked on the x-ray and saw that like I had a break in my ankle. Now, this, let me put this into perspective for you. This was like 4 months after, 4 or 5 months after the initial injury, and he's saying that it looks like there's a slight break in my ankle. Now, he said it could be because you're walking like that on your foot, that your foot is doing that, or he said it could be there since the time of the injury. I was like, right, why was that not picked up? And so what they did was, the doctor came in and looked at it, and he said, right, what we need to do is, he said, we need to get your foot and your leg to be straight again. So he said, we're going to put you in a cast for 2 weeks on your leg. And he said, it's a way to straighten your leg. So he said, basically they had to put me in a cast at 90 degrees I think is what he said. They had to turn. So when I went in to get the cast on, the two guys, the two nurses working in there, um, they had me lying on the table and they were like, right, we need you to turn your foot this way. And I was like, I can't. And they were like, you can't or you won't. And I was like, I want to, but I can't. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, I literally have no movement in my foot. I said, I cannot move it to the left, to the right. I cannot turn it around for you. I cannot wiggle my toes for you. I cannot do any of that. So they were like stumped. So what they had to do was one of them actually had to turn my foot um to the proper angle so that the other guy could put the cast on while the other guy held my foot straight, basically. So that took a while. So yeah, I was in that for 2 weeks, and went back to get the cast off. And when I went to see the doctor after I got the cast off, um, he said, I saw you when you came out of the room there after getting your cast off. He said, why are you not walking properly on your foot? And I said, last time I was here, I said, we discussed it. I said, I can't walk. I can't put my foot flat or anything like that. And he said, no. He said, you should be able to put your foot flat. He said, you need to start walking on that foot properly. He said, or else you're going to be stuck like that for the rest of your life. And I was like, it's not me. Like, I'm not intentionally doing this. I said, no. I said, I'm not intentionally doing this. I said, this is just what's happening with my foot and with my brain. I said, intentionally, like, I'm trying to tell my foot that it needs to do this, but it just doesn't. And so he kind of relented then a little bit. So what they did was they said, right, it seems that the cast has made your foot and your leg worse. Because what it did was it actually swelled my leg and my foot even more. Because it was in such a confined space for 2 weeks. So what they said they were going to do was they were going to refer me for pain management. And then they were going to put me in a walking boot until, so the doctor had said, you stay in the walking boot until you get your pain management. And let me tell you, I'm still waiting on that pain management. Now, I was referred in 2018 for the pain management. It is 2024. I've been waiting for 6 years. So, given that the doctor told me to stay in the walking boot until the pain management, yeah. So that was that. And I was basically finished with the orthopedic side of things. There was nothing more they could do for me. So in the meantime, I ended up going to a specialist that specializes in nerve conduction therapy. So I went for a nerve test on my two legs to see what kind of response there is in my left leg compared to my right leg. My right leg being the one where I had the injury, and yeah. So in regards to that, they said that they found on my right leg my nerve reaction was diminished. So basically, like when the doctor hits your knees and you get reaction or whatever like that, they were saying that basically the nerves in my right leg weren't as responsive as the nerves in my left leg. So we're at the point at the point in the story that I'm telling, we're at the point where I still can't move my foot. I'm still walking on the side of it. I'm now in a walking boot. I had been in a cast. I had my toenail removed, and I've now been for a nerve conduction test. So when the results of that came back, the doctor actually told me, he said, right, he said, you definitely have loss of nerve reaction in the right leg, but he said, what you also have, he said, is CRPS. And what CRPS is complex regional pain syndrome. And he said he deals with that all the time, being a nerve conduction doctor. So he basically said there's two outcomes for people with CRPS that he's seen. And the two outcomes is that he said normally it will fix itself, or it will go back to some kind of normality, he said, within 12 months. And then he said the other side of it is that he said you never recover from it and it's something you constantly have. So I was like, I want to be the 12-month one and not the other one, you know. So came out with that, and still waiting to hear about the pain management, still in the walking boo. You know, still at this point we're into 2019, 2020, still nothing. So then I got to a point where I was like, right, I need to do something. I need somebody to do something for me because I'm waiting for pain management. I can't go back to orthopedics, anything like that. So I decided to go private to a physiotherapist. And I had been in the walking booth from April 2018, and she got me out of that walking booth in 2021, April of 2021, before we went into lockdown here during the pandemic. So I was in that walking boot for 3 years, in a walking boot. Basically, anytime I had to go anywhere, walking boot. And I was also walking with a crutch too, with the walking boot. And she was the only one who could get me out of that. She was the only one that actively did something for me. It took a long time and a lot of work, but because of her, I was able to get my foot flat again. So my foot is no longer on its side like that. It's flat, you know, and that's something somewhere I never thought I would get after 3 years in a walking boot. So I was out of the walking boot, and I was still walking on a crutch because I still hadn't got enough strength in um in the leg, in the foot, like to support it, because I'd been in the walking boot for so long. And I'm sorry this video is so long and I'm trying to make it short, but I just feel like I need to be just like transparent with absolutely everything, like my journey for the last, since 2017, since this injury. I feel like I need, you know, I need you to know, you know, where I am now. And yeah, so that was that. And then during the pandemic, I think I want to say it was late 21 or maybe early 2022, I was getting infections in my big toe again. So the toenail had grown back, and I was getting infections again, one after the other after the other. And something else I didn't mention is that before the orthopedic doctor actually discharged me from his care, he actually put me on basically prescription medication that I had to take every night to help me sleep, because the pain in my foot was so severe, that I wasn't sleeping. So he put me on that medication, and I'm actually still on that medication to this day, 6 years later, because without it, 90% of the time, I'm in too much pain with my foot to sleep. So, yeah, so I was getting infections again in the toe, and I was sent back to the hospital again. So they basically said they were going to send me an appointment to have a procedure done where they were going to take my toenail again, but they were actually going to destroy the nail bed as well, so that my nail would not grow back again, and it would actually, hopefully, what they thought would stop the infections in my toe. So I was like, look, if that's what needs to be done, that's what needs to be done. I just need to stop getting these infections because it's, it drives me crazy. And I have photos of none of the gruesome stuff, but I have photos of, like, me in the cast, myself, and like in the walking boot on the crutches, and like general pictures of, my foot, like, when I was in before I was even put into the walking boot, I before my injury, right, I was a size 8 in a shoe. I'm now a size 9 because of the swelling in my right foot. Like, that swelling is never gonna go away. So I'm a size 9 in a shoe now. But at the time, I actually had to cut like holes in the top of my shoes because of how compressed my toe was in my old shoes. So I had to cut holes in the top of my shoes. So yeah, where was I? So yeah, the nail bed. So when I went in for the procedure, the doctor had changed his mind, and he basically told me he was just going to do a double ingrown toenail operation on both, like the right side, the left side and right side of my big toe. He was just going to do ingrown toenail operation on both sides that day, and he wasn't going to take the nail or destroy the nail bed. So I was like, I was there. I couldn't exactly tell him not to do it, So did it, and yeah. So I was still walking with a crutch after that, and I was walking with a crutch up until July of 2022. Um, and yeah, so I pretty much had, so 5 years. I had 5 years where I was walking aided, so either walking boot or crutch on its own, or some variation of the two. I had 5 years where that's what my life was. I had to give up driving. I was only starting like my driving lessons at the time this injury happened, um, and I had to give that up. Um, I could not, I couldn't drive because I couldn't move my foot. It was as simple as that. Um, I couldn't, and because my foot was like that, like if my foot was flat, I'd still be able to drive. Because you're literally just doing that kind of motion with your pedals. But with my foot like this, it literally, I just could not do it. So my dad became the driver, and like amazing person. He drove me to all of my hospital appointments in different parts of the country, to see specialists, to see what could be done, all of that. I did have a meeting. I actually had a meeting with the pain management doctor during the pandemic. I think it was 22, and that was in County Cork in Ireland, and I had a meeting with him. He had a look at my foot, at my leg, everything like that. And he, back then, basically said to me, he said, I'll keep you on the list. He said, if you want to stay on the list, I'll keep you on the list. But he said, I would be too afraid, he said, to give you pain management injections into that foot. And I said, why? And he said, because, he said, there's a big chance, he said, that it could actually make your foot worse than what it already is. And I was like, well, look, I'd rather try it than not, because I need some kind of relief. So I'm still waiting on that appointment now for the pain management, still waiting on it. As it stands now with the driving, I'm back driving now, and I passed my driving test 2 years ago, but I'm driving an automatic now. I can no longer drive a manual car. Because of the changing of the gears and things like that. It's just too much movement for my foot. So I can only drive manual now. But the fact that like I basically had to learn how to walk with a foot that does not work anymore, and that's still hard in my day-to-day life. So as it stands with my foot is no longer crooked, it's flat, but I still have no movement in it. So I have the CRPS, and it looks like I have it for the rest of my life. The muscles just do not work in my foot anymore. My right leg, because of the lack of blood flow for that amount of time that I was in the walking boot, and wasn't able to put my foot flat. There are certain spots on my right leg where I cannot feel anything. They're numb, so I have several numb spots on my leg. Even as I'm filming this right now, I'm in pain, and I can feel that in my foot. Sometimes it can be really bad, where my foot all of a sudden will go into spasm or cramp up like really, really badly. There's also times where it feels like it's on fire. It just starts burning out of nowhere and just does not stop. And my toe still gives me problems, like with infections and stuff like that. Very sensitive. But I yeah, so my foot basically, after all of that, after such something that was so innocuous, you know, has basically, it changed my life for so many years. And stopped me from doing things that I wanted to do. Um, so I'm at a point now where I don't need the crutch anymore. I'm out of the walking boo, nothing like that. I'm still a size bigger on my right foot in shoes. So when I'm getting shoes or buying shoes, I buy size 9s now and not 8s. Even though they're way too loose on my left foot, they're just perfect on my right. So it's something that I just have to. It's something that I just have to be like, okay, it's what works for me. It's what works for me. So with the videos I make now, so I'm doing a lot of manual work, and you'll see me in the videos. You'll see me walking to and fro, back and forth. And you would think, you know, that there's nothing there, that I don't have a disability, but it is there. It's there all the time for me, and it's something I push through every day because I don't want it to stop me from doing things with my life anymore. And this is a big thing for me, having this channel and being able to do all this work. And no matter what happens, like, after the big projects I've done so far, I have had, definitely times where I've come in, I've sat down to relax, and my foot is just like, what did you do to me? And it's just in pain constantly. I get pins and needles, it starts burning, and it's just, and then the next morning I wake up and start walking around. Like, it's just step after step is so, so painful. But I also cannot let it stop me from doing what I want to do, from doing what I love doing, which is what I'm doing now outside here. Um, if I hadn't have taught myself how to basically walk with a foot that doesn't work again, I wouldn't have. In August of 2022, I went to a convention over in LA with my brother. It was a thing called Klexicon, and it was a convention for actresses who play queer characters in TV shows and movies. And I'd never done anything like that before in my life. I'd never been to America ever, and I would not have been able to do that, in a walking boot or on a crutch, because it would have been too difficult and too hard traveling that far like that. Um, and that's where I ended up meeting my fiance. Like, just a chance meeting. We spoke for 2 seconds, and then like a couple of months later, we reconnected on Twitter, and we didn't realize we'd met each other at Klexicon. So had I not have pushed through that and went over for this con, I never would have met her. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of put that out there and just let you know more about me as a person. And I think this gives you maybe a deeper insight um into me as a person, and just my life, what my life has been like the last number of years. But yeah, that it's been a long, long ride, a wild, wild ride. And I think I'm at the point where I'm like, right, my foot is never going to work again. I know that. Um, is it frustrating? Yes, every day. Um, the pain, I would not wish it on anybody. The pain that I feel, all day, every day with my foot. I do things to take my mind off it a lot as well. Like, I have PlayStation, my Xbox, I play my games, I'll watch movies, and then I'll be outside doing my work and stuff, and it takes my mind off it. And yeah, but it is what it is now, and I've accepted it. You know, I think about so many other people in this world going through so much worse, going through so many worse things. And I find myself being thankful that this is all that I have that's going on with me, you know? Um, so yeah, I know this is long winded, and I will do editing, and I'll edit it out, edit it down, all of that, and I might split this into two videos, where one I just talk about the disability, and um cut out the part where I talk about my stats and keep that for a separate video. But yeah, I just wanted you all to know, that behind this account is this person who, loves what she does, but also um has a disability that, you know, does limit. Like, when I'm outside doing my work, I have to take breaks frequently. Like I cannot be on my feet um for more than 5 or 10 minutes at a time because of my foot. So I'm constantly taking breaks, and that's, you notice like there's so many cuts in my videos as well, because when I'm filming out there, I'm having to constantly stop the filming, so I can take a break, so I can rest my foot, and all that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, I hope this hasn't been too long winded. I hope you're still watching at this point. I really, really do. And I'm so sorry it's so long. I'll try and edit it down if I can. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's me. That's Emma. That's Emma's life the last number of years. But my life is so positive. I have so many people in my life that I love and who love me and who support me in everything I do. My parents, my fiance, my brother, my extended family, they're also supportive of me on this channel and just in my everyday life. And I, yeah, I guess there's a lot of medical things I spoke about that maybe some of you who watch this video, maybe you suffer it too, like the CRPS, or the numbness, or anything like that, ingrown toenails, infections, anything like that, feel free to comment and we can chat about it. I'm an open book, if there's ever anything you want to know further about anything I've talked about, just comment and let me know and I'll answer to the best I can. But for now, that's where I am right now, and I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. Like, if a few years ago I thought I'd never get out of that walking boot. I thought I was in that. I actually thought I was in that forever. And although I cannot use my foot properly anymore, I'm just thankful that I can still get up and walk around and do things. And yeah, you know, I'm thankful. I'm thankful every day for the life I have and for the things that I am able to do now. Because I'm a long way from where I was a few years ago. A long, long way. So yes, this is the end of the video, and I'm so sorry again. But yeah, this is M from Empowered Power Washing and Garden Services. Have a good day, have a good night, have a good evening, depending on your time zone. And I will see you very soon in the next video. Peace, everyone.